Brandon Cutler here from AEW, and I hope you guys have an awesome podcast with the Monster Cast.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful here. You're watching the Monster Cast with Jack and Ryan. A big shout out to those fellas. Good people. Check them out.
Here's your hosts of the Monster Cast, the Straight Edge Monster Jack and Ryan.
Hello everybody and welcome to the 4th annual Monster Awards and the first one ever that you get to see kind of in person, basically. Obviously our first 3 years we did the Monster Awards on our audio podcast. This one is being brought to you exclusively to YouTube, our new YouTube channel, and we're going to get into the best of the year 2022.
Good year for wrestling.
Crazy year for wrestling. Fucking crazy year. This might be the craziest I've ever been a part of, especially with this podcast or my previous podcast that I used to have back in the day. Let's just get right into it though. First award. Let's go ahead and just give it up to the rivalry of the year. We both picked the same thing this year. Let's throw it up on the screen. Rivalry of the year, FTR versus the Briscoes. This is probably a no-brainer one, right?
Yeah, to me. You could have gone Punk MJF. I guess that would have made sense. Other than that, there wasn't really anything that stood out to me.
I think I would have went Punk MJF if FTR would have won the third match as well, because it's not really a rivalry when somebody's winning all of the matches. Yeah. So
Right.
Seth versus Cody, 18-0 against Seth. I'm not really feeling that as even a contender in rivalry of the year, even though the matches were good or whatever, and it kind of made sense with the whole Dusty thing, trying to come back into a company that you left. Like all the Seth stuff made sense. But then he couldn't deliver when the time came as far as getting the dubs to make it an actual rivalry. So he was kind of that feud, I should say, was kind of disregarded in this. It was really a two-man race, like you said. It was CM Punk, MJF, and FTR Briscoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Next.
And the last one was really good too.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agreed.
Yeah. I think the last one was better than the other two.
See, I don't though.
What do you think? The first one was best?
The first one, yeah. And we'll get to that in a minute, actually. Other rivalries of the year in past years, just so we can throw this out there because this is the first live one or whatever. Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros in 2019. Sasha versus Bayley in 2020, which we both picked. And then Kenny Omega versus Adam Page, which was another no-brainer for last year in 2021.
Yeah. Very long-term storytelling. Like, that's the one thing that I feel like is missing with the Briscoes FTR one. They've had the best matches for their rivalry. They've been the most competitive. They've been the most compelling things on every card they've been on. But the story is not as there as you would hope for it to be. But
so yeah, that's what really kept the MJF Punk things as close as it was, because the story was so good and so well done. But then it kind of fits into the same situation as the Cody Seth Rollins night. MJF did get a couple of wins, and technically 2 in one night in Chicago,
right.
Which is why it's even in the discussion, because he did get wins. But
there's so much of an asterisk on them.
If the all-out shit didn't happen, and we really did get MJF versus Punk like it was going to be, and
then
MJF came back and won the title, then that's number one. Like, it's not even close.
I agree.
Okay, so oh me my goodness moment of the year. In 2019, we had the Canadian Destroyer by Pentagon Jr. to Matt Jackson off the ladder through a table at All Out. We both picked that one.
Yep.
In 2020, we picked different. I went Matt Hardy driven past the table off the scaffold to the concrete at All Out. And you went Penta Powerbombs Phoenix out of nowhere with their crazy-ass match that they had on Dynamite in 2020. And then in 2021, we also picked different. I went Matt Jackson super kicking with the thumbtack shoe, which was very popular because of the shoe that he used. It was very expensive. He had no problem putting thumbtacks all through it. And then, of course, you went Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, back-to-back debut. What pay-per-view was that? Do you remember? I can't remember what pay-per-view that was. It was Punk's first one, right?
Was that Revolution?
I don't know. I don't think it was Revolution. I thought it was Punk's first pay-per-view, or no, first or second pay-per-view
It was all
match,
out.
right?
It was all out. All out.
Yeah, all out. That makes sense. Yeah. I didn't think it was Revolution.
Yeah.
So this year I went with Cody Rhodes' pec injury at Hell in a Cell. I thought that was fucking nuts. Everybody, as soon as he took that robe off, like a fucking cartoon, jaw dropped to the floor. Like, that was fucking crazy. That they cleared him. We still think it's stupid that he even attempted to do it. I'll still stand by that. I'll die on that hill. That I don't care if you couldn't do more damage to the injury. That was a dumb thing to do. And two, I was like, I mean, visually, fucking insane. And you went
gasps.
and you went with the MJF You Fucking Mark promo that we use weekly on the show to mark people's dumb takes on Twitter.
I've never said, "Oh me, my goodness," as much as any wrestling, anything ever, as when that fucking promo was happening. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
So,
the
I had to go
original
that one.
pipe bomb I did, but we didn't have a show back then, so I remember watching that and I was like, I can't believe he's saying this, because you got to remember that was a long time ago. The fuck a Forbidden Door, that was unheard of at the time.
Right.
So when he was saying all that shit, yes, it was a similar moment with the MJF stuff. I agree, but for just something visually with Cody Rhodes magically taking that fucking jacket off, and then because no one knew it was that bad, right? Like
Right.
no one's, unless you really know what a pec injury looks like. A casual like me, I don't know what the fuck that actually does to your body. You're thinking that, oh, that's just all the eternal shit. But when he takes it off and his whole fucking half of his body is bruised, it looks like Roddy Piper going against Bad News Brown at WrestleMania. Half of his body is black. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? I cannot believe he's actually doing this. It was so bad looking that a lot of people thought it might be fake. That's how bad it looked.
Yeah. It's hard to fake that yellowing around the edge where it starts to heal a little bit, though.
I mean, well, unless you're a really good makeup artist.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go best pay-per-view of the year, which is also a unanimous decision here on the show on the 4th annual Monster Awards, and we gave it to...
I'm biased, but Forbidden Door.
Yeah, of course you're biased, but I mean, you can't be that biased if I picked it too, right? So Forbidden Door, of course, Ryan was there live, got to watch it. So,
Very cool.
I mean, if I was there live at fucking Dynamite in New Orleans, I would have probably picked it. So what are you talking about, dude? Like,
Show of the year.
there's nothing wrong with a little bit of bias on some of these topics.
And it wasn't even just that it was a really good pay-per-view. It was that it was pretty much unheard of in the industry until that point. Since, I don't know, how far back would you have to go to find like a cross-promotional pay-per-view?
That was on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, New Japan, WCW.
New Japan,
obviously.
WCW, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Which
So
did not
it's-
go according to plan.
Right.
So,
So-
I mean, if they made a damn, like, what, Dark Side of the Ring about it or whatever.
Yeah. So that to me stands out as far and away the most interesting, surprising. Had a lot of good moments on there too. So yeah, I think that one stands above the rest. Even though I think some of them might have been better in match quality overall, because you had a couple issues. Obviously, people were injured, so you didn't get to see all the matchups you wanted to, and then the Adam Cole injury at the end of the 4-way kind of took away from that a little bit. But other than that, like, it was, I think it stands above the rest of them as being the most compelling, the most interesting.
All right, the best women's match of the year. We both went Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter at Full Gear. I feel like that was a pretty obvious one. There wasn't really anything that was creeping up. Maybe a Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, possibly. But like once that match hit, though, it was like, okay, that one was insane. The false finishes, the crowd being behind Jamie Hayter like they were, multiple times thinking that Hayter wasn't gonna do it, and then when Britt came out and whatever, there was just a lot of shit going on. It was crazy.
I will say,
One of my favorite
feel-
matches at that pay-per-view, actually.
I feel bad picking this because I know that I have been watching Stardom as much as I should have been to make this like a definitive answer, because I know Sayuri's had some really good matches over there. So I'm picking this with the understanding that it's like a match that I think most people will have seen compared to other matches I think most people will have seen.
Also
But I'm sure
matches
that if we
have
went
seen.
through like all the Stardom
I
shit,
can only grade off the stuff that I've watched too.
right? Yeah. So I'm sure if we went through every Stardom match, there's probably matches that were like better matches. But yeah, I think this one makes sense as
I
a
think
big four.
even with that, with two chicks that used to be in Stardom, and the way that they fought the Stardom style pretty much for that entire match, with the story build up and then how loud the crowd was, I think it still would win, honestly. Just because when I say best match, I'm taking into consideration everything, not just in-ring work. We're not talking about if Daniel Bryan went out there against Gresham, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously that match would be the best match, worked match, but with all the other components involved, I'm going to go with something that goes across all spectrums.
Well, it's not like
as far
Stardom
as
doesn't
that
have
goes.
stories too. We just don't keep up with them.
Yeah, but they also don't talk as much over there either.
Okay. Just like
Talking
you.
for 5 minutes after a show and not having a weekly show, I mean, that's a little different, don't you think?
Yeah. All right.
And then, of
Next.
course, best male match or best men's match. And this is kind of proving my point with my criteria, actually. I went with CM Punk versus MJF at Revolution in the dog collar match. And this is what I'm saying. It wasn't the best worked match of the year. It was really solid, really good, especially for a dog collar match. But there's no way that you'd go out there in a dog collar match and expect this to be, you know, a Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson versus Gresham match. It's not the same thing. But with all the build up, the music change, the attitude change, the promos leading up to it, MJF finally being able to make Punk break out of that whole "hey, happy to be here" fucking shtick that he was doing, and literally getting back to some of the roots of the old Punk in his promos. I think all that combined with the match that they actually did end up having was my favorite match of the year, best match of the year to me. And of course, Ryan went
Ospreay versus Okada from the G1.
the G1 final.
I think that was the best worked match of the year. The most technically impressive. I think it did have enough stakes behind it to put it above some of the, because they've had multiple matches this year, but that one being as high stakes as it was, yeah, I understand what you're saying with the MJF and Punk one. I like that match a lot. But if I'm looking at those two matches side by side and I said which one was the best match, it's not the MJF Punk one to me. But I feel you. I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's not so egregious that we're about to throw down over it type deal. Yeah.
No.
Die on hills and shit. Same with yours. Like, obviously, Ospreay versus Okada G1 final was fucking insane. One of the few matches in New Japan this year, besides Wrestle Kingdom, where I actually stayed up and watched it, or watched it the next morning, I should say. All right, best debut return of 2022. In the past, we've had Moxley debuting at AEW in 2019. We've had Edge at Royal Rumble in 2020. And we had CM Punk at Rampage in 2021. And this is our first year where we disagree.
Yeah.
And this is where your bias comes in, my friend. Because there's
Nah,
no way.
this is just-
there's
this
no
is just
way
true.
that
This
Claudio
is true.
was a better debut than
It is.
Cody at WrestleMania.
I'll explain why.
Okay.
The Cody shit was so known at that point.
You're
that
telling
it
me that
took
me
a-
and you didn't know that was Claudio? We both picked it, got the extra point.
Yeah, but it's still a guess. Like we didn't know. Everybody
I
knew it was gonna be Cody.
Right.
And the other thing is like, okay, it's like, would you, if Top Dollar left WWE
Don't do it, bro.
and then was gone for like 3 months and everybody's like, oh yeah, he went to Impact, and he shows up in Impact, at the end of the day, man, it's still just Top Dollar, okay? And I feel that way about Cody sometimes, where it's like,
whoa, my God, you did not just say that on this show.
I feel that way about Cody sometimes, where it's like,
What?
I understand it's a real big deal for him. I think he's a passable wrestler. Him debuting is not a big enough deal to me because he's not good enough for me to say that was the best debut. You're debuting a guy who's eternally high mid-card that you're going to try to push as like a big guy because he came from the other company, but that doesn't make him a big guy. It doesn't make him a big debut. It doesn't make him a massive star. It doesn't make him an amazing wrestler.
Cody and Claudio were pushed the same in their respective companies.
And which one's better?
That irrelevant.
Which one's better?
Better wrestler, Claudio. Better talker,
Right.
Cody. It's not even close.
That's not fair, first of all.
What the?
Because
He knows
Cody-
6 languages. It is fair.
that's right. That's right.
You should have-
And if you told Cody to go cut a promo in Swiss, how would it sound?
But it doesn't matter. He doesn't claim to know Swiss.
Right. But the point is, you're trying to say it's not
he
a
doesn't
better.
claim to know another language. Claudio
I think
claims to
Claudio
know
is a
5
better
languages.
promo. Claudio's a better promo because he doesn't.
No, he's not.
He doesn't
It's
end
not
every
even
promo
close.
crying about how Dusty
Anyway,
would be so
and
proud.
also,
to
I'm
see
supposed to
him
be. By the
with this
way,
mid-card
of course, I went
title.
Cody at WrestleMania, and Ryan went Claudio at Forbidden Door because he was at Forbidden Door, and this is bullshit. Everything he's
That's not
telling you.
why.
Because
That's
here's
not
the
why.
thing about this. I'm gonna need you to get back in the frame because I cut your shit down. There you go. All right, so I need you guys to realize that this is clearly a biased pick on his part,
not
not
biased.
on mine.
You're
even though I
biased.
do like Cody.
You're
And
biased.
but I love Claudio. But
You're
there's
so
no way
biased
that
toward-
you're gonna
you're so biased
argue
toward
better
Cody
promo
that you
skills
think
between
that
Cody
his
and Claudio on
debut
the show.
was better when nobody cares what Cody fucking does there, and everybody knew it was gonna happen.
When Cody debuted, he was in front of 70,000 people.
Oh, okay. Are we using
And
the fucking
against Seth Rollins, who
versus
by
Ospreay
far is
argument?
better pushed in WWE than Zack Sabre Jr. is in New
Are you gonna ask
Japan.
you gonna ask who has more money next? Like, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It was a better debut.
It was not.
It was. I mean, no, I went nuts.
Okay.
I went
Well,
nuts
when-
for Claudio.
when
Don't get me
Top-
wrong.
when
I was
Top
happy for
Dollar
him because he was going
debuts-
somewhere that appreciated him. But there's no way that you're telling me that the better debut was Claudio
When Top
in front
Dollar
of-
debuts in Impact.
in front of 15,000 people instead of Cody in front of 70K against Seth Rollins, who hadn't
Doesn't matter
wrestled
how
in
many people it was.
3-4 months. Do what?
It doesn't matter how many people it was.
It does. It makes the moment better. It's best debut / return.
Okay. So when Top
Um,
Dollar debuts in Impact, I want you to keep that same
And
energy
Bobby
about
Fish was in the running, just so you know.
mid-card wrestlers
Bobby
showing
Fish was
up in
the
other
running for best
promotions.
debut for Impact. You didn't know
Look,
that.
I
He was
like
my number 3.
Cody. I'm not a Cody hater, okay? But
Can't tell.
he's eternally an upper
You just
mid-card guy.
compared him to fucking Top Dollar in Impact.
That's right. The point
That's
that I'm
incorrect.
making is that if somebody shows up in a different promotion and they're not really that good a wrestler, I don't.
I
give a
wouldn't
fuck.
even wish that on Impact. Be real with I'm being real
All
right now.
Be nice. His leg gave out.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's go to the best tag teams. First, we're going to go with the best male tag team, and this was a no-brainer, obviously, of the year, unless you're just living under the rock like PWI. We're not
Master
giving it to the
Waco
Usos.
And
We're not giving
what?
it to the Usos this year. I gave it to the Usos in 2021. Ryan gave it to the Young Bucks in 2021. Okay? And then in 2020, we both gave it to the Young Bucks. And then in 2019, we both gave it to the Lucha Bros. And this year, we're back on the same page again. It's FTR, and it's not even
FTR.
close.
all day. 3 world championships in 3 different companies, and not bullshit companies either. There's no way. There's no way. You can argue the Usos have had like a really dominant presence in WWE and that their storyline's been really strong, but they've had a dominant presence in WWE in a division that has like jack shit for tag teams. So being the biggest fish in a small pond doesn't mean shit.
Correct.
So.
And also, here's the thing. It's not necessarily that the Usos aren't the best tag team in WWE. They very well could be.
They are.
But when you're pigeonholed into a situation where you can't put those titles on anybody else because no one else is good enough
Right.
to take them off besides New Day, and people are tired of seeing that match 20 times a year, what are you gonna do?
That match, but
No, I don't have a problem. No, not us.
right.
People.
Yeah.
People are tired of seeing
You
that match
people.
20 times a year. That's the reality of the situation, is what it is. So it's more, hey, we don't know how to build up other tag teams unless they get themselves over, because that's exactly what the Usos and New Day did in
Right.
both fucking instances. And then it was like, oh, let's throw the Usos with Roman to start this bloodline thing. Hey, let's make them even bigger. Let's give them the titles. That's all good because, you know, they're one of your two best tag teams in the promotion. But then it gets to the point where, hey, we can't do anything else with these fucking titles because no one else is even close to their level in this promotion. So,
and they even did a New Day match
thing.
and had New Days lose, so there you go.
So you got FTR winning titles in other promotions, and then even in those promotions, they're pretty even with these tag teams, but yet they keep winning, which makes their resume look stronger. So when you're beating the Briscoes 2 out of 3 times, when you're beating the Young Bucks to keep your titles, when you're beating the Acclaim, Swerve in Our Glory, you know, teams like that, you're going on the Indies and defeating Rock and Roll Express in their final match and shit like that. Like, there's things that they're doing that can't ever be done again historically. Right. You're winning the AAA tag team titles against the Lucha Brothers. You're winning the IWGP titles. Like, you're defending them against Motor City Machine Guns. There's just shit that FTR is doing that is not going to be touched in the year 2022. And I think we felt like we knew that fairly early this year. This might have been the most, the earliest wrapped up award out of all of them. Like, nobody was coming in late to take this award from FTR.
Yep, I agree.
Best women's tag team. Ryan did not pick one this year.
Right.
I will tell you mine, and then Ryan will tell you why he didn't pick one. I gave it to Toxic Attraction, NXT 2.0, just because I felt like there was no other option, honestly.
That's right.
It was literally them and no one else.
So, the reason I didn't pick one is because you don't get to say that you're the best women's tag team when there's nobody else. That division doesn't fucking exist. It doesn't exist anywhere. Doesn't matter. They're not doing anything with it. I'm not going to pick and say that somebody wins the best of being the only fucking person there. So, I did not pick one.
Okay. Show Stealer of the Year. Now this
I
one...
I like this category, because I think this is the only one where I picked the WWE thing over you who didn't.
No, I went with Briscoe's FTR 1 in April. Ring of Honor Super Card of Honor. Which I believe was April 1st.
Right.
And you went... Well, let me go ahead and tell you why.
Sheamus.
Let me go ahead and tell you why first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, I think, like I said earlier, Briscoes versus FTR 1, I believe, was the best of the 3, bell to bell. It was the one that was most anticipated because we had never seen it before. So, and it was not the main event nor the co-main event. It was the third to last match on the card, which is why I consider it a show stealer of the show. When, I mean, a lot of us kind of knew that was going to be the best match, but we didn't really know because no one knows the chemistry between two tag teams that's never wrestled before. So, also, you don't know what Briscoes you're going to get. Where Briscoe's going to do the job because they ended up losing the titles. So it was a lot of external components that we weren't really familiar with. We didn't know really how this was going to go down. So a lot of that went into my grading of this match for being Show Stealer of the Year. When it was all said and done, and the fans went as nuts as they did because of how good the fucking match was, and that's all we were talking about the next day, even over Gresham versus Bandito, it's kind of like a no-brainer to me. That was the best match as far as Show Stealer of the Year. And now Ryan went Gunther versus Sheamus at Clash at the Castle. So let's throw that up on the screen. There you go. And why?
I mean, pretty much all the same reasons. It wasn't even close to the main event. It was like pretty early on in the show, if I recall correctly. I think it was like third on the card. And that's the only match anybody was talking about afterward. People still talk about that match. It distracted so much from the next like 2 matches that I think the next one was the Liv Morgan match. After that, nobody fucking remembers that match. It started something too where now Sheamus is relevant again. People want to see him win again. Now his team is in this whole thing with Imperium after that. Like, it was, I think it was the match on every card all year that nobody really, like, I think everybody looked at that match and was like, okay, it's going to be cool because there's like 2 big, like, stiff dudes or whatever. But it became the match of the entire card in a way that I don't think any other, like, low on the card match has for any other pay-per-view the entire year.
Yeah, no, I mean, the match was insane. It's definitely one of them. I mean, besides how good Logan Paul did and how bad his brother did, we weren't really talking about anything else besides Gunther and Sheamus. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
Or no, that wasn't that one. My bad. That was SummerSlam.
Yes,
that was
you're
Drew
talking about
McIntyre
the
versus
Drew McIntyre match.
Roman. My bad. That's my bad.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, that we already knew how that one was gonna go. That was the problem with that match because that match wasn't even bad
Right.
either.
It wasn't.
But yeah. So what was you said? Liv Morgan. That's when Liv Morgan beat who? Shayna.
Baszler?
Yeah,
Baszler,
okay.
I think. Yeah.
All right. Let's go to our most improved
Okay.
wrestlers of the year. Let's go most improved male wrestler, men's wrestler. We did go different on this one. Now we picked the same one last year. We both picked Matt Cardona, who was on the indie circuit, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But this year
Which is
we
weird
went a
because
little different.
it's not like he got better as a wrestler. He's got better at, I feel like, presenting himself. I think is why we picked him.
I think he had a better character. I think he leaned into the character. I think he was
branched out a lot
definitely
with
putting on better
the stuff he
matches.
was
He was
doing.
winning
Yeah.
matches. He was winning titles. I think all that is taken into account. I mean, like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how much you break out in WWE if they're still going to make you lose at the end of the day, and then nobody's going to care. Just ask Ziggler. So like, you can be as good as you want to be, but until you find your niche and actually start succeeding in that role, I think that was a big thing of why Cardona was our pick last year. But this year, speaking of finding your role, I think both of our picks are really fucking solid here. I picked Jungle Jack Perry in AEW, and Ryan also went AEW, but we'll get to his in a minute. I'll throw Jungle Jack Perry up there right quick. And so I went Jack Perry for a litany of reasons, but one of many is that he's 150% better on the mic this year in promos. One of my nitpicks on Jungle Boy in the past, especially when they were tag team champions with Jurassic Express with him and Luchasaurus, was that I got tired of him and Luchasaurus doing the same 5 moves over and over. And this year, I don't feel like he's done that. I do feel like he's actually brought in his move set. So I took that into consideration as well. And of course, the cage match with Luchasaurus was fucking insane. And he didn't strike me coming into the promotion as somebody who would be taking crazy shit. But between the cage match and that fucking chokeslam on the heated firework thing,
Pyro Dick.
yeah, those two things kind of made me like stand out and like, okay, this dude's not fucking around. He's taking this seriously. He's like going all in. So most improved from the wrestling aspect and the promo aspect, obviously the most was taken into consideration. But then of course the extra step, the extra effort to get especially that feud over on his part, I think was great. Obviously he had help with Christian making it so easy for this man to get pissed off at him because of the shit that he was saying, but still he could have fell flat on his face on his promos and stuff. And whether you want to contribute that to him working with Christian backstage all the time and Christian helping him out, that's fine. You can teach somebody until you're blue in the face. That doesn't mean they're going to learn it though. So for him to actually deliver what Christian has been teaching him in the back, he's got to get credit for that. But Ryan went with BCC member Wheeler Yuta.
Yep. Kind of the same thing. His promos have gotten a lot better. If you listen to his early stuff, he just sounds like he's not even reading off of a card, but imagining a card to read off of. Like it's pretty bad.
I understand that, but I also think that's in part due because he was only going to have 1 or 2 lines anyway because he was with the best friends.
Right.
Yeah.
So his whole wrestling style has changed. His presentation has changed. He really got over with the Moxley matches. He's part of like a major faction now. He's the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, where I feel like if you looked at him at the start of the year, you would never put him in that spot. He was like a sidekick of a sidekick with the best friends. So he's come a long way in his presentation. He's come a long way with his whole wrestling style, the things that he's adapted from the BCC like playbook, I guess you could say. And then his promo abilities obviously gone way up too. He's a much more serious competitor right now than I think anybody ever thought that he would be when he first got in.
All right. Now for best women and men's indie wrestler of the year.
But we didn't do most improved woman.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad. Most improved woman is... Oh, we both picked the same on this one too.
Mm-hmm.
Recently released. Most improved woman, Mandy Rose from NXT 2.0. We gave her fans a lot of flack a few weeks ago with the PWI women's list when everybody was complaining that she was ranked 21. And we said that she probably should just be happy with that. And I still stand by that. But you got to remember, 21 is a lot better than what Mandy Rose would have been the year before or the year before that. She wouldn't even made the list. 21 is a huge step up. 21, she was looking better in matches. Now you can argue if that was quality of opponents being stepped up as well and wrestling on a more consistent basis. Who knows what the hell's going to happen now that she's no longer there, which we'll get into, I'm sure, at some point in a future episode at the beginning of the next year if anything changes with that. But being NXT Women's Champion for as long as she was helped her because she was guaranteed matches, guaranteed reps. So that helped with our decision-making process. When you're in the ring with Alba Fire, Blair Davenport, Satomura, did I say her name right? I'm pretty sure I said her name.
Close enough. We know who you meant.
Well, the triple threat, obviously, from the Worlds Collide match, is what I'm referring to. So when she unified the NXT UK and NXT Women's titles. Zoe Stark.
And not even just that, it feels like she's really
Roxanne
found herself
Perez,
like
she was beating
as
everyone.
a character too. Like it used to just be like her whole character was I'm hot, and sometimes I'm friends with Sonya Deville, and that was like the whole character.
Well, her character I feel like evolved. It's the same character, but it evolved. So like, it's more like Eva Marie times 100. Like, I know I'm hot type deal, but I'm also a lot better in the ring than you think I am, and I have this title, so you can't say shit. Basically, as long as I have this title, there's only so much shit talking you can do. I guess is my.
It settled more into like a leader role in a weird way. Like her character became more of like a. It's hard to explain. More of like
early
a
Trish.
Yeah, something like that.
Because Trish was, a lot of people don't know this, and we mention it on the show all the time. Trish got fucking murdered for being a terrible wrestler. And it got to the point where she eventually won the title, and the first time that she won the title, she was still not that good.
Right.
And then she eventually got good, and I think that was the same concept here with Mandy, because she had to have matches because she was the champion, and it almost forced her to get better type deal.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, we both went Mandy Rose, and well deserved for her. Interested to see what she does next, I guess. All right, let's do the best men and women indie wrestler. Matt Cardona is who I went with the men's. We didn't have one in 2020 and 2021 because of COVID-19 canceling all, if not most, of the shows. So those two are vacant. We both went Dragon Lee in 2019. And Ryan didn't make a pick this year because he didn't feel like he's watched enough indie stuff or kept up with enough indie stuff to make an informed decision. So I'm making it for the show. Matt Cardona is our indie wrestler of the year. Now, he would have been last year too if they would have had enough shows, but 2021 didn't start getting indie shows till the latter part of the year. So but I'm kind of taking that into consideration, like from the end of 2021, like the last few months all the way to this year. So Cardona's getting it, and it's kind of a landslide, honestly.
There's been a lot of wrestling to keep up with, so I didn't feel comfortable picking somebody that I wasn't sure would be like the best, because I'm familiar with what he's been doing, but I haven't even really watched a lot of it either. So that's part of it.
On the other hand, the best women's indie wrestler of the year, we did pick the same. Last year and the year before, like I said, vacant. And in 2019, you went Kylie Ray, who just showed up on Main Event in her little debut tryout match against Dana Brooke. But I went Lufisto, who I love Lufisto, and I still can't believe she's not signed anywhere. She did have a couple AEW Dark matches, so I'm happy about that. But I need her signed. But this year we both picked Willow Nightingale, the newest member of AEW. She got signed very recently, finally, after everybody had been calling for it, getting advocated for who knows how long now. Probably gave Jade her best match up to a certain point. I feel like Jade's probably had... I think Willow's still her best opponent so far, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
I think actually she's wrestled against Jade 2 or 3 times, and all of them have been really solid. So Willow Nightingale, Ring of Honor, all over the indie scene, still on the indie scene.
Yep.
And now officially in AEW / Ring of Honor as well. And yeah, she's killing it right now.
I did keep
don't
up with
really
enough
see-
of her matches to feel comfortable saying that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, she was everywhere.
Mhm.
All right. Breakout Men's Wrestler of the Year and Breakout Women's Wrestler of the Year. You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, so this is, let's do the men's first, obviously.
Okay.
Since I've been doing it that way anyway, just so I don't lose my place. In 2019, we both picked Lance Archer from New Japan Pro Wrestling at the time.
Yep.
That's when he had the sweet G1, right?
Yep.
Orange Cassidy in 2020 was my pick. Ryan picked Adam Page in 2020. We both picked Dante Martin in 2021, which I feel like that was an easy one. Last year was
Yeah.
probably the easiest one, right?
He was having a crazy run.
This year we went different, but it's another one of those things where I can't complain about your pick. But the way that my criteria works, I'd probably pick Takeshita next year. So Ryan went with Takeshita, who just recently got double signed. So he's with DDT, but he also has now signed with AEW, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
Yep.
explain that pick, obviously.
He was a relative unknown in the United States. I would say almost entirely unknown in the United States before this year. Since he's shown up on the scene, he's got a huge following. A lot of fans love him. He's had some really fucking great matches, very high-profile matches against like top-of-the-card guys. I think to not say that he's broken out in a way that's unique and that nobody else can really compare to would be. I don't know of anybody else who's had a run like that where they just show up on a scene and then are immediately like, even if they're not winning, they're universally loved and immediately in great matches, like competitive matches with very high card people.
I mean, solid points. My only issue with when we were going back and forth about this, because you were shocked that I picked The Acclaimed, who I picked. The Acclaimed is my breakout male wrestler of the year. It's a tag team, obviously, but I felt like there wasn't a lot of I'm taking Takeshita into consideration here too. Like, it wasn't like I didn't think Takesha's name didn't cross my mind, right? But the way that I was judging this is, yes, the Acclaimed were known in 2021, but not the way they're known in 2022. That was a legit breakout. Just because you were showing up on Dark and losing in Dynamite matches every time you got off of Dark so you can get sent back down to Dark, that's not the same to me. So when they became faces, when the fans organically turned them face and TK had no other option but to turn them face, that's breaking out. Being the hottest act in the company, New Age Outlaw style, which is really weird considering that Billy Gunn is attached to both of those acts. So it's really weird. That's just a weird coincidence to me. But them taking it to that level and then having segments that would completely flop or should completely flop turn out to be fucking comedy gold, basically. I took that into consideration. I took into consideration not only like what you were saying, Takeshita was in high-profile matches against the Jon Moxleys and stuff like that, but those high-profile matches, he was not winning. The Acclaimed in 2022 are winning. They did beat Swerve in Our Glory twice. They did have a really close match with them before that. They did beat the Gun Club multiple times. They did beat all these tag teams to get up to that point to get those tag titles. So I took all that into consideration. So I'm not hating on your pick of Takeshita at all. Like I said, it's not like he didn't flash through my mind as soon as I'm going down my list of all these categories and I say, hey, breakout male wrestler of the year. Takeshita obviously went through my mind. But then if I started thinking about it, as far as like who's a hot act right now that definitely was not that hot the year before, it's the Acclaimed. And I think it helped. And just like it helped our breakout women's wrestler of the year, which we'll get to next, I think it helped that it was an organically fucking built thing to the level that it became. Now, I'm not saying Takesha's isn't organic, because it is. He hasn't done really anything besides character-wise, I mean, to get the reactions that he's getting. But the fans are just like super into him. Like, he's got charisma about him. I won't say Jeff Hardy style or anything, but it's kind of like that. You get what I'm saying? Like, he obviously isn't talking to the fans. He's not cutting promos, but the fans are super into this dude. Kind of like they were with Yuta. Does that make sense? Like, Yuta started getting a groundswell of support and stuff before he joined BCC because they really wanted to see him in BCC because of his style and everything, and they thought he could be really good. So Takeshita, I think, is on that similar path, and I think that helped. But the like splitting the hairs thing for me to go with the Acclaimed instead was definitely when they were put into those high profile matches in 2022, they were coming out with the W's.
So my two things on that is that I don't think that I don't think I would put the Acclaimed in a breakout spot because they were already really popular even last year. They already had a bunch of fan backing. Like, everybody used to love hearing Max Caster's raps, all that shit. Also, Bowens was injured and out for like a really long time of even this year. So I don't feel like they broke out as much as they were just waiting for Bowens to get back to pick up popularity that they already had, if that makes sense. And then the other thing is that
I get what you're saying, but I will say that Bowens being out like he was gave them that Britt Baker effect where she was out for a long time but still staying on TV and still cutting the promos to help get them over and break out even more than they were.
Yeah.
I think that actually helped them turn face because he was not face when he first got injured. They were heels.
It's hard to hate a guy in a wheelchair. The second
It might have been
part,
the same one. It might just be a magical wheelchair. We don't know.
Yeah. Unless you're who the fuck was that dude that got pushed? Zach something. I don't know. It's been so long. Zach something got pushed off the stage a very long time ago.
Huh?
But
Is that Gowan?
huh?
Is that Gowan?
No, Zack Ryder, dude.
Oh,
Chapman.
yeah, okay. With
Yeah, he
Kane and
doesn't-
Cena and all
yeah,
that. Okay.
he does.
Yeah.
The joke is he doesn't exist anymore. Okay. And then the second thing is I don't think you necessarily need wins to be a breakout star. Breaking out is not about being on top. Breaking out is about how much attention you're getting, how much like adoration you're getting, where your status is now compared to what it was like a year ago. That's how I look at it. So.
All right.
I mean,
and then the
You could
breakout.
even, I could even make the same argument for Wheeler Yuta being like breakout in a way too. I
Well,
just
he was
think
getting wins as
Takeshi's
soon as
got
he
a bigger
joined
background.
BCC, though, is my point.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't winning against Moxley or anything. when he
No,
was having
for
those
sure.
matches.
Nobody's going to win against Moxley.
Yeah.
As you'll find out later. Anyway, so breakout women's wrestler of the year, we both gave it to Jamie Hayter.
Yeah, I think it was an easy one.
This one I actually had somebody different. I don't remember who the fuck I had, but then when I saw your pick, I was like, you know what? That makes way too much sense. Oh, I gave it to Willow Nightingale as well. So there's two reasons why I went back on that. One, Willow was already getting Indie Wrestler of the Year.
Yep.
And two, Jamie Hayter deserves it for the same reasons that I was giving it to the Acclaimed. So
Yeah. And
even
to
though
me,
she's still technically healed now, she's really face. Let's be real. She's doing the Sandow Miz shit. Britt comes out, she's getting booed, and then Jamie Hayter comes out, she's getting cheered, and they're chanting Hayter, right? So that's literally what's happening right now. She got the organic groundswell support, which was mentioned several times after her win against Toni Storm. She had the match with Toni Storm and won, which we just said was the best women's match of the year.
Yep.
And then, of course, now she's just racking up wins left and right. So I think that was the main reasons why I went back and agreed with you instead of leaving Willow in that spot.
to me, it was the trajectory. Like, she comes back as somebody who'd had a few matches before, wasn't really over, didn't really get a lot of attention aside from being kind of thick. And then, like, people liked her, but they weren't like clamoring for her to show up or anything. She comes back, she's like a sidekick. It's kind of an underwhelming reveal because everyone's like, look, okay, we kind of hoped it would be like a new signing or whatever, not somebody coming back from dark. And then she just turns it into this whole straight to the top thing. Like, everybody's super interested in her character arc, the shit she's got going on with Britt. She's like a really good wrestler.
She completely changed her look too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Got in really good shape, changed her look up, and is now the women's champion. Like, if you're talking about like a breakout from a debut of relative obscurity to now being current women's champion, I think it's a major breakout. Yeah.
Like, if we were given a best change in appearance award, and not saying that she looked bad before or anything, but would we not give it to her for women's and Gunther for male?
Yeah, for sure.
That's fucking insane how they completely transformed their bodies for 2022.
Yeah, and not even that too, but just like her look overall, like her clothes choices, the hair shit, like all of it. Like it's a much better look right now.
She literally looks like she walked out of a New Japan fucking creator wrestler.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, she looks awesome. All right, so We're gonna go women's MVP first. We actually picked different on this one. That's why I'm gonna go with this one first. I went, and Ryan went, Becky Lynch in 2019. That was one of the most no-brainer ones ever.
For sure.
We both went Io Shirai in NXT in 2020. We both went Britt Baker in AEW. So this is our very first time.
Yeah.
This is our very first time picking different award winners, and I mean, I'm not mad at it, honestly. It was a pretty good year if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, having a especially in the women's MVP category, if you think about it, having a no-brainer 3 years in a row isn't really good.
Right.
A good thing. Like, you want to be able to be like, yeah, exactly. Like, no-brainers 3 years in a row. That's kind of like, what are you doing? So Becky Lynch was a no-brainer. That was the year that.
To be fair, are you gonna make that same argument for the men? Because we've picked the same every year for the men.
I mean, what I'm saying is the women's. There's not as many women in the women's rosters. So no, it's not the same. You got a whole New Japan thing that we watched that had no women until literally this coming up year.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not gonna make the same argument for that.
Okay.
And by the way, in 2021, Omega, he was both of our picks, but was he really a no-brainer over Paige? Or did we have to think about it?
Yeah, no, he was.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway.
Fucking belt collector arc? Are you serious? Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so this year is actually a good thing that I think we both went a different way. I went Bianca Belair in WWE. For 2022, she had the great match with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. She's obviously had the title for a very long time. I want to say she was, third in the PWI women's list behind the two Stardom wrestlers.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know if we should pay attention to what PWI says for these, but sure.
No, their women's list was a lot better than their men's one.
Yeah, it was.
But speaking of the PWI, Ryan went with Toni Storm, who was listed after Mandy Rose at 21, because we made it a point to point that out on the show that Toni Storm should have been higher than Mandy Rose.
Yeah.
But explain yourself, sir. Why Toni Storm, best women's wrestler or women's MVP of 2022?
Thunder Rose dragged that division down in a way that I feel like would have been hard for a lot of people to bring that back up from. And Toni Storm did it in like 3 matches. I think that division had tanked to a point where everybody was tired of seeing Thunder Rosa, but Thunder Rosa didn't want to drop the belt. You had her having pretty much the same kind of phoning it in matches over and over again. The division was like really fucking stale. It was getting a lot of criticism from not being featured enough to, the matches not being very good or not being given enough time, whatever. You have Toni Storm come in, she wins the belt, and then all of a sudden the belt matters again, the division matters again. She brought a relevance back to that division that hadn't been there, and a focus back to the division that hadn't been there in a really long time, because she's such a credible wrestler and a talented wrestler that I don't think there's a lot of people that could have, like, I think if you tried to do that with Britt and try to have Britt win the title off of Thunder Rosa when or the interim title or whatever when Rosa left, I think it would have been a lot harder for her to climb that back out of the hole, because a lot of her stuff is so story driven. And it's just seemed like Storm did it on just being really fucking good at wrestling. And I think that's a hard thing to do, is to make an entire division relevant again just by being so good.
All right, so the Toni Storm. Okay, so the Thunder Rosa aspect of your argument of why you made Toni Storm your pick, I'm completely on board with 100%, right? I think Thunder Rosa's a lot better chasing for the title than she is holding the title type deal. Almost like a Sting type deal from back in the day. Like, you're chasing, people want to see you win it, but then once you won it, you didn't really do anything with it. You didn't evolve anything after holding on to it for anybody to care that you still had it. Right? You can say that's pretty accurate, right?
Yep.
So, like, your promos didn't get better. a lot of people were complaining and trying to go to bat for you, and then you didn't help them when you did get the time, right? So, oh, she's not getting enough time. Why is she only getting 2 minutes when CM Punk gets 9 minutes and all this other shit? Well, the difference was, as we stated on the show, because CM Punk can talk and Thunder Rosa cannot. And you didn't give anyone in your long reign any reason for anyone to think any different. So, yes, I agree that it helped drag down the division. I won't say drag down, but stall the division. How about that? Yeah. It stalled it. And then when it was time for you to give it to somebody that was credible and could talk better than you, and people were getting behind, and was the fresh new shiny toy that was being misused in WWE, you didn't want to drop it. And then it became a whole clusterfuck situation, and I'm really glad that it ended up being TK saying that, hey, her reign counts as a real reign too, after she lost to the Hater. So that's fine. I'm cool with that. The problem I have with Toni Storm over Bianca in this case, and why I didn't pick Toni Storm, is because her reign was so short. I think that had something to do with it. Also, she had a brief period of time where she wasn't wrestling because she was doing OnlyFans after her release from WWE, so there was 3 months where she couldn't do anything. So that was also into consideration. So, I mean, I don't hate your pick or anything. I'm just telling you why nitpicking this between her, because these were the final two. There's no question about it. It was Bianca and Toni Storm, in my opinion. But that's why I went to the Bianca side instead of the Toni Storm side.
Yeah, it's fun.
And of course, dun dun dun, the final award of the 4th annual Monster Awards. Sorry, PWI 500, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. The wrestler of 2022 is
Jon Moxley. He's
Jon fucking Moxley. And it's not close.
No.
It's not close.
It's not close.
It's Jon Moxley, and then distant second Roman Reigns, and then maybe Punk, Page, Omega, if Omega wasn't out for that entire fucking period or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Ospreay, Okada.
MJF possibly, even though he only
MJF
wrestled
maybe.
like 4 times.
Yeah.
If you're taking into consideration everything, dude, the MVP of wrestling in 2022 is easily Jon Moxley, who came back from rehab at the very beginning of the year and has been nonstop in GCW, New Japan, AEW, all of it. Nonstop. And winning titles. So, no. Jon Moxley is the best wrestler, or the male MVP, I should say, but pretty much the same thing. The male MVP of 2022. And it's not close. In 2019, we both picked Jericho. In 2020 and 2021, we both picked Kenny Omega. And now in 2022, Jon Moxley.
Yeah, it didn't feel close to me either. The stuff that he's done since getting back is just crazy. His workload's crazy. He's saved this division so many times, saved the division after the Punk shit. It's saved the division during the Punk shit. Like, there's...
Can we not just argue that he's wrestling 2 different fucking character paths right now? He had the MJF shit was clearly Punk's thing, and now he's wrestling Paige, which was clearly probably going to be Punk's thing too, after the MJF thing. And he's wrestling both of them while he's still waiting to go on fucking vacation.
Yeah, this man's never gonna get a vacation. You're stuck here forever. Yeah, I'm hoping he gets whatever time off he wants after the Page thing ends, but because I figured that probably Page go over because it's not gonna hurt Moxley to lose that. But yeah, man, he's carried this company in such a. It's hard to overstate how much he's been vital to AEW staying relevant, afloat, credible. Just like the Punk injury stuff, the tournament after that, the Punk match, Punk getting his little fucking crybaby like fit suspension, whatever, and then Jon Moxley having to come back into the company again and save it again, making it relevant again, doing the program with MJF that Punk was supposed to do, like all that stuff. There's no way you can pick anybody else.
All right, there you have it, guys. That is the 4th annual Monster Awards here in 2022. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't agree, if you did agree, let us know in the comments below here. And tell us who was your picks for each category. We'd love to hear them. And we will be back live at the top of the year here on Twitch, and then the replays on YouTube as well. And then, of course, you can also catch the shows on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, all the stuff that we're normally on. We'll be back at the beginning of the year. Holiday season, obviously very busy, but we had to fit this award show in because I love doing the Monster Award Show. So it's been awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your year. Deuces.